Hey everybody, this is Cameron AB, and I'm sitting down with a really good friend of mine that I've known for, I won't say how many years because I can't remember, Calvin Royal III. How are you, Calvin?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are?
So, hi everyone, I'm Calvin Royal III. As Cameron said, we have known each other for many, many years and have sort of seen each other grow in our respective fields as they've evolved and grown.
And still growing.
I am from Florida. I grew up kind of on the road. My dad was in the Army, and I moved to New York when I was 17 to continue my studies as a ballet dancer with American Ballet Theater School.
And currently you are a soloist with the company.
Yes, I'm a soloist with ABT. This is my third year as a soloist.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, one big thing that I want everyone to know, a lot of people think that becoming a ballet dancer, you have to start at a very young age, like 3-4 years old. When did you start?
I took my first ballet class when I was 14.
14?
Yeah, I was 14.
Considered already older.
Yeah, I was pretty late to the game. Yeah. I went to Performing Arts High School in Florida, and that's where I got my start.
Now, do you see that did you see that as a disadvantage growing up?
I mean, no, to be honest with you, I kind of saw it more as I got into dance not thinking that I was going to go on to become a professional ballet dancer.
Right.
It was never sort of my, back then, it wasn't a thought in my head that this was going to be my career.
You were just loving it.
I just was interested in it because I had done this community project called the Chocolate Nutcracker every year prior to starting ballet.
The Chocolate Nutcracker.
The Chocolate Nutcracker.
Okay.
It was this community project that brought together kids from all over the Tampa Bay area in Florida to put on a production of the Chocolate Nutcracker every December. And in this version, there was jazz dancing, there was hip hop, there was West African dancing. So I got an exposure to dance in a way, and I just loved doing it. So when I got into the High School of Performing Arts and started ballet, it was just exploring, really. Just exploring a new way of moving. And
so that's amazing. First of all, the Chocolate Nutcracker. Now, since you were 14 and starting and kind of just seeing what floated your boat in a way, did everything move so quickly for you? Because from 14 to 17,
in 3 years' time, I went from starting my very first ballet class to moving to New York City in 3 years.
From Florida. And had anyone in your family done anything like this? Anything?
I mean, my dad's side of the family, they're military, so a lot of them traveled a lot.
Okay.
Working in the military, but in terms of artistic pursuits, no one ever went off to a big city to become a musician or a dancer that I know of.
So you're a pioneer in your own family.
In a way,
yeah. I'm seeing a trend in your career as one of firsts.
Yeah.
So now you're in New York. You've been in New York for many years.
Yeah, many years.
Crazy how time flies. I remember I was a friend of somebody in ABT's studio company, back when it was still called Studio Company. And that's how I first met you.
Yeah.
And, go over to your apartment and stay with, various family connections. And I have seen you grow in so many ways, as we all do as people, but especially as somebody who was kind of in some ways casted to the side, not just because of, either you started late, but also, you're a black man in a predominantly white art form. Could you touch on that a little bit? And did you feel any of that growing up?
To be honest with you, I think it's
a hard question.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a difficult question because growing up in a military family, we moved around every 2 years, and in every city that I remember living in as a kid, there were kids from so many different racial and ethnic backgrounds. So growing up on that side of things, it was always kind of normal to be around people that were like me and not like me. But it was when I moved to New York, and I was suddenly in a school studying ballet, one of 12 dancers that were chosen from all over the world to study and train at ABT school, that I would be in this class and look around and not see many people that look like me, not just in the class, but the teachers, the people in the company, the people that are behind the scenes running the organizational stuff. I didn't see anyone that I could go to and be like, hey, you know,
we're just doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. You know, so I didn't really have that. And it's been a journey these past years, kind of growing up in the institution of ABT and kind of discovering what my voice is in all of that.
Gotcha. I think that we're all trying to find our voice, no matter what artistic endeavor that we're going into, but especially for you, I mean, we're going to touch on all the stuff that you're currently doing, but it's amazing how, you know, there is still this stigma of you go to the ballet and it's considered a anything other than being pale and white is seen as different. Now I think everybody is changing, although slowly, to adapting to it. Why don't you tell people of the new opportunities that you're gonna get this year and beyond with this narrative that you've kind of written for yourself?
I'll go back a little bit.
Go ahead.
Just to say that the world in which we live in, we're in 2020, and the fact that we still haven't seen certain things on the stage or seen certain demographics represented in ways that are authentic and true, it's really puzzling for me. But the way that I see it is that I want to be that change. I want to have used all the experiences that I've had up until this point to take on the roles this coming season, like Romeo and Juliet, to take on the role of Albrecht and Giselle, to take on the newest role in my repertoire of Love and Rage. I'm playing one of the principal characters in that. But to be able to do that in a way that it's going beyond, this is a black man playing this role.
Exactly.
This is a black man who's earned his place, and that he's worked incredibly hard and had to overcome many obstacles and challenges of just the day-to-day and changing people's perception, because you can't change people in general.
No.
But doing it in a way that I'm using my art and using the time and effort and energy that I put into it to tell the same stories, but in my own way.
Got it.
As an artist.
And you're not walking this alone. Obviously, you know, there's all the predecessors that came before you, but even certain contemporary dancers and artists. Who else are you dancing alongside? Who are you going through this journey?
Well, I mean, this coming season, I'll be debuting Romeo with Cassie Trineri, but also at the Met, I'm dancing with Misty Copeland, which, you know, she's
Google her if you don't know who she is.
If you don't already know, Google Misty Copeland. but knowing her story and the things that she's had to overcome,
which is very similar to yours in many ways.
In many ways it is. In many ways it's, different. Yeah. But being able to stand on the stage together at the Metropolitan Opera House in 2020 and say, this is where we are. We have so much further to go as a people, as a society, as an art form. Mm-hmm. But to be able to stand on the stage and make that statement and do it in a way that's bigger than the two of us,
right?
For the art form, for the culture,
yes.
is huge.
Yeah, and especially when you really look at the culture and you look at the individuals who are such big stars in the culture, you see a lot of athletes. Mm-hmm. You see like LeBron James mm-hmm. and Michael Jordan, like icons. Kobe Bryant. I mean, how tragic was his passing not too long ago on the culture? And I can just keep going with names, but it's odd that we still have this conversation about race, mm-hmm. especially in a time right now when so many people in our culture are not white. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not all vanilla.
Right.
You got chocolate, you got peanut butter, you got, strawberry, you got all the flavors here.
Why wouldn't you want, I feel like it's so important for us to acknowledge that to live in a world that's everybody's the same, mm-hmm. that's not how we grow.
Right.
That's not how we evolve and progress. And it's so important for us to have those voices and those faces and those people represented, because that just makes us more diverse, more full, more, complete.
Complete as a race, 'cause we are a human race. I mean, so many things to talk about, but I don't want to segue too much, but mm-hmm. On this podcast is a lot of creatives and a lot of people, especially in the entertainment industry, are hopefully viewing this and hearing your story. You're also taking initiatives outside of ballet. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So, growing up in this sort of realm of dance and arts, it's always been nice to see those people or those leaders mm-hmm. that you identify with in a way, and that they're saying things that you can relate to and want to know more about. This summer, for example, I am going to be the artist in residence at the Vail Dance Festival.
Which is a big deal, especially not just in the dance world, but to be an artist residence at Vail is, keep going. Keep going.
So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but being an artist in residence at Vail Dance Festival, the director is Damien Wetzel, who mm-hmm. he's currently the president at the Juilliard School and was a former principal dancer with New York City Ballet. And he brings together and curates performances in the summer mm-hmm. up at Vail. And to be an artist in residence of this festival, it's really about acknowledging a leader in our field and endorsing them in a way that says this person is someone who is doing something in big ways for the culture and for the art form.
Right.
And this summer, being the artist in residence, a big part of the initiative is Boys in Ballet. Reaching out to them, letting them know that you have a community of guys that went through the same things as you, perhaps, and are here to support you. And there's going to be master classes, there's going to be mentorship, there's going to be opportunities for them to probably perform with us on stage in some way. So for me to be able to give back in that way is huge.
That's all it is. You've reached a point that I'm sure even you're surprised of, and so now you're in a position to not only give back, but to really make an impact on other people's lives.
Yeah, and for me, I think about this a lot, about the next generation that's coming up behind me. I don't want to do all of what I'm doing just for me. Like, it's never been about just Calvin.
No.
Calvin Royal III.
Yes.
It's never just been about me. It's about me being able to make a difference and me being able to help the next generation of dancers, of artists, of athletes, whoever can look at my story and resonate with it in some way. I want to be able to help and make a difference in their lives.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I feel that there's this huge cliche, and you see it all over the place with any artistic form, that there's a lot of ego. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who are doing this for themselves and say, I want to get to that level, which is a great goal to have. Yeah. But I feel it comes at the expense of the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. You know, why are you making this art? Mm-hmm. You're not just doing it for yourself.
And that's the thing too, is it's like in our time, you go on social media and you see people projecting these lives, and the next generation that's looking at that, they're looking at the fame, they're looking at the success, they're looking at what fancy car I got or what outfit I'm wearing to this or that. And it's like, those things come along. If those things come along, that's great. But these kids need people to look to that are actually there to support and help and advocate for. Right. And are allies with. Because
going back to what you were saying, we're all doing this together. Mm-hmm. Like, we're all on this spinning rock in the middle of space, you know, together.
When you break it down.
To it, that is it.
A speck of dust.
Pretty much. And, you know, to think that a small piece of this speck of dust, is going to be this huge impact. Like, I walking down the streets of 8th Avenue, I see tons of people with probably $1,000 worth of clothes on their body.
Yeah.
And I bet you if you looked at their bank accounts, it probably said close to zero or in the negative. Mm-hmm. Either way. So I see a ton of people who try to front and try to floss in front of everyone to project a life that they want, but it's actually getting them further away of who they are. Mm-hmm. And especially artists, we know that we're not making a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
We're not doing this for the money. At least we shouldn't. Mm-hmm. If you are, you need to do something else. But yeah, it's just such it's a weird thing. It's an insecurity on the individual, and so you have to show a different lifestyle to others. Mm-hmm. Which I think if you just got rid of it and stayed humble, and allowed other people to either help you or you help others, the whole world would be a whole lot better place, especially in the art world. Mm-hmm. Especially in the art world. Now, you are pretty prevalent on social media.
Yes.
And because of all your endeavors, you do have a following. Mm-hmm. And you are giving back to your audience. Now, how do you see artists today utilizing social media? And can it make or break a career?
I don't necessarily know it definitely gives artists a platform of visibility in ways that maybe didn't exist as much or was much harder to attain pre-social media. Yeah. I've used social media for, I want to say 5 or 6 years now, and have used it really in a way to connect. I put things out there, but I also love to connect with the people that follow me, because having one person follow you is a gift. You know, it's one person wanting to listen to your story or listen to what you have going on. That's a freaking gift.
Right.
But I feel like it can be used as a tool to spread your message, spread information about what you're doing, things that you're up to, things that you're trying to make a difference by doing.
Yeah. I found that, and it doesn't matter the level of your talent, quote unquote, within your art form. I feel as if you're really good at marketing yourself on social media, it can really get you in the door.
Yeah, for sure. Because I've had experiences where even myself, who I've grown my following and
Yes.
communicate with them and connect with them in ways that maybe people that have millions of followers don't necessarily do. Because I don't have 1 million followers, I may not get the job. I may not get that opportunity.
Right. But also I have to say one thing. It's not the number of followers that you have, because, there are all sorts of ways that you can fake several thousand followers.
Yeah.
You can pay some money and some fake accounts get followed onto yours. It's one thing, like you could have 5 people following you on Twitter and but those 5 people might be Bill Gates, Michelle Obama, LeBron James. It doesn't matter. It's about who's watching your content, and a lot of times you see some really big names getting opportunities, but you look at them and they don't have a social media. So what are they really doing? I think it's a part of the equation in today's world moving forward, but you also have to back it up. And you have to really understand that this is a relationship game, not just a social media and
a numbers
game. And I feel as if a lot of times that there are individuals who might just be looking at the numbers.
There definitely
are
who are only looking at the numbers.
I wasn't going to say it, but there definitely are people who just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
I've even seen actors and they say, I have this many followers on this social media platform. I have 20K on Instagram. I have 2,000 on Twitter. I have this and that and this and that. Because, unfortunately, in certain pockets of industry, it does make a difference. So do what you will with that information, but just know that you have to also be accessible as a human being.
Totally. And also, for me, it's been really rewarding and fulfilling to feel like the people that I have on there who are super supportive or, reach out to me, they know that they're getting a message back from me directly. Yes. It's not me outsourcing that.
Always respond to your comments. Yeah. I always tell people that, I follow Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you know who he is. Yeah. And
I do too.
Yeah. So it's just that you never know. Like, people may not know who certain people are, but he is one advocate of saying, you're the mayor of your own town, Calvin Town, Cameron Town. And, you have people asking you questions and talking to you. You need to respond back. It doesn't matter how little or how big the answer has to be. You have to respond back to your people.
Yeah.
So that's how I say it. Could you talk a little bit about the films that you are working on?
Yeah, so in the same vein of wanting to inspire and give the next generation something to look at and be part of and be immersed in, I'm working on a virtual reality film project, which basically charts the whole journey from me discovering ballet up into me becoming Romeo at the Met this spring with ABT. And so this whole idea came out of this dream or this wish for people who don't necessarily get to or can afford a ticket to come see a show at these prestigious opera houses. Yeah. But I think what we do as dancers is so it's a world that most people don't really, they just see the glitz and the glam, but they don't often see what that journey is like to get to the glitz and the glam.
Yeah. Which is not glitz and glam.
Which is not always glitz and
it's
glam.
It's usually blood, sweat, and tears and everything else.
Yeah. So this VR project is an immersive experience that will bring people up close and personal to the dance and make them feel like they can experience that life in that world that we experience every day.
Good. And does it have a name yet?
Our working title is Romeo, a classic in virtual reality.
Good. Are there any other films that you're working on right now?
Currently, that's kind of like,
you can't.
I have a few things kind of in the works, but this is the one that I have on my plate right now that I'm really pushing for.
Everything. And so you're being the co-producer
and writer as well
Good.
on this project. My good friend Katia Martin, who's kind of like my superwoman, she's been helping me. Also, this is a big entrepreneurial push for both of us in a way, and we're both learning so much about how we get our voices and our stories told in the best possible way.
And so are you thinking about just putting this out, or are you going to try to introduce this into like festivals?
So
such.
Yeah, so distribution wise, we're looking at the festival circuit for exposure, but also a big component of this, which I love so much, is that there are VR educational opportunities where this would be potentially part of arts education in schools for kids. And also there's hospitals that we're looking also at distribution for patients who can't necessarily get out of the hospital, but they can be immersed in these worlds that are life-changing.
Good. Great. All the best to you with
Thank
that.
you.
That's a big undertaking, especially VR. Not a lot of people know.
Yeah, and it's a world and a space that hasn't really explored the dance space in a way.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of trying to pioneer this and get people excited about this new endeavor.
Right. Great. All right. So there's always two questions I ask my guests, and one of them for you. In the entertainment industry, because you work with a lot of people at all different levels, whether it be in front of on the stage or behind the scenes. What is one part of your industry that you wish could be better?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's many things that I wish could be better.
Yes. Or changes that you wish. I mean, we talked a little bit about race, but is there anything else that pops into your mind?
One of the biggest things that I talk about with friends, especially lately, is this whole idea of artists being taken advantage of in a way, and in
many different ways.
But one of the biggest is it's like, when you're an artist, you put so much of your soul into what you do, and a lot of times, you'll get a job for, in my case, like for a campaign, for example, and they want to use a dancer, and they don't realize you need a proper floor, or you need to make sure that they're taken good care of.
Even like how warm is the room?
How warm is the room?
If time to warm up.
If you're expecting them to do something that's going to potentially put their body at risk. Right. These are things that I feel like in the bigger picture could always be better. Yes. Compensation can always be better. We are all putting our lives and our livelihood on the line when we step out there and do something for someone. And I oftentimes feel like when it's outside of the dance world, it's not often looked at as something that's serious.
Right.
They see the beauty of it, but they don't understand the sort of protocol or the things that you have to make sure are in place to make that beauty happen.
Right. Now, before I went into acting, I was very much a ballet dancer, and I would go to many auditions, open auditions, private auditions, any kind of auditions. And a lot of times you had to pay to take the class or to be in front of the person. And I feel like that's something that I wish would change. Even if it's less money, even if it's like a processing fee of like $5. But I've been into auditions where they ask for $40.
Wow.
And it's like a cattle call where there's 100 or 150 people there, and they're not even looking for somebody. They're just holding auditions. It's a business side. Yeah. It's paying for, whatever the director's expenses is to be at that studio. Which I understand business is a thing, but you're also kind of just taking money away from artists. And, I even see this a lot of times as an actor too. You have a lot of workshops and there's no guarantee of anything. Now, it's good to get in the room with somebody, but at what costs. I understand you have to, pay to play in some instances, but it's something I wish was a little different. A little different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my other question is, what is one thing that you love about your industry that you can't find anywhere else?
The one thing that off the top of my head, that I love about my industry is that being a dancer for me is one of the most magical experiences I think I could to date. Like, I can't think of anything else in my life up to this point that has been so just transformational. I go on stage and there's moments where I'm so involved and invested in a character or performance that I sort of lose myself in that. And I've never experienced something like that in, everyday life.
Yeah. Especially in New York, where everything's going on.
Yeah.
And you're just bombarded every single step of the way.
Yeah. Being able to get out of bed and go every morning to a warm-up class and being able to do that class with live music.
Yes.
It's those little things that you don't always realize how special that is until, you deal with an injury and you can't necessarily go in and, you have other things going on, going on. But yeah.
And it's just being grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Because you're doing something that most people would love to do. They may not understand all the details of it, but it's a dream for many people, and you should be grateful.
I totally am.
I know you are. But somebody who might be watching, it's always good to, we were talking about just earlier, there's always the saying, the grass is greener on the other side. We see other people who have perceived success and failures and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, I want to have that life. But I think what's more important is looking at what you have and appreciating what you have so that you can make your own grass greener.
Totally.
I think that that's really the game at play.
Yeah.
A lot of people are outward thinkers instead of what do I have and what can I make better.
And I think that's so important to be able to, I'm even discovering how there's so many things going on, but it's sometimes so simple. You have to just step back and self-reflect and figure out what's going on, find that space and time for yourself, because you can't just keep going. Because then you look back and it's like,
where did it all go?
It's
all done,
especially
especially as a ballet dancer. It's a very short career.
Yeah.
Even though there's multitudes within that short time, there comes a point in which you can't do it anymore.
You have to hang up the shoes.
And so being grateful for the time that you have
and making the most of it
is that's number one.
Yeah.
Calvin, where can people find you?
Other than performing with American Ballet Theater, we're getting ready for upcoming tours all across the country.
Okay.
I am on social media. I'm on Instagram. My handle is @CalvinRoyal III. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook.
Very good. Is there anything else, any nuggets of wisdom you would want to share with people?
I mean, in my short time on this earth,
yes.
I mean, I've been so grateful to have been able to make it to this point in my life by being true to who I am deep down inside. And I think when you lead with that, people are drawn to it in a way that you can really have authentic conversations. You can connect with people in ways that open up doors that maybe you never even imagine. Yes. So I think it's really important to really dig deep and bring your honest self in everything you do.
What a great way to end a podcast. Calvin Royal III, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy life, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much.
All right.